This is David Hupp doing a presentation on DVD of how to convert a physically printed gospel tract from the Free Tract Society and use a scanner and Adobe Photoshop to turn it into a computer medium straightened and cleaned tract that can be posted on the internet for people to print on an inkjet or color laser printer. This tract was previously only printed on the printing presses and was made on negatives, so it has to be converted to digital for everyone to use. The first step is to put the document in the scanner. I'll show you a picture here. Turn the scanner on, open the scanner lid, place the document. We're going to do one side at a time, two sides on this tract, 8.5 by 11, 2 to a page. And first turn the scanner on, put this document in, and close the lid. Next, open this shortcut on my desktop, Epson Scan, the software that came with the scanner. It's opening now. To avoid confusion, we first have to determine where we're going to have this document go. So down here next to the scan button, it's our location thing. I already labeled something 5 points scan back, and then I browse here for where I want it to go, and to make it simple, I just put it on the desktop. Desktop is at the top here, you see. Then press OK. The next step is to do a preview of the scan area. Pressing on the preview button here, the scanner begins to work. Press OK over here under File Save Settings that I just made. And now it should start to scan. You can see here the progress of the scanning. It says it's going to take 2 minutes. This is the preview only. Now you have to determine using these parameter keys around the document what you normally, this has already been scanned, so you have to set this in to not have to scan the whole area but just the area you want. Next we're going to look over here. We have our choices of we're scanning in color. We want the lowest quality color, 24-bit, and I tried various resolutions of quality. I tried 600 and 1200. 1200 makes too big a file size, so it'd be almost impossible to post it on the internet for somebody, even as a PDF, which makes it smaller in file size. So we set the thing at 600 dpi here, and then we have reflective up here. Even though the scanner can do negatives up here, film, we're setting it as reflective because it's a positive image and not a film. Then we go down here and we press scan. Then we press OK. Now we need to scan the back side. So I turned the back side in the scanner, close the lid again, and now we're going to go, we won't need to go preview again, but we can just do a scan again. Well, I'll do preview. We're gonna before you're gonna have to label this, like I said, down here now. This is the back side. So down here, like we did before, you click on the thing next to the scan where the cursor is. Then up here you have 5-point scan back, which is the proper label. And you browse, and then it says other here in desktop, so that's fine. So then you press the scan button and press OK, and that begins the scanning of the backside. Now shut the preview window and the scanning software. Now it's time to open the document in Photoshop, both documents, the front and the back. You'll see on my desktop here I have one, it's called the back. So I right click on that and I go down to open with, and I'm able to go over here to choose Adobe CS5, which will open the document in Adobe. And so here's the this was happened to be the front side, but that's all right. So the first thing we need to do is, we don't want it facing that way, we're going to rotate the document. So we have our tools palette over here on the left, and we're going to go up here and go image, rotation, and 90 degrees clockwise. Now this is going to be going on the top, and the bottom is going to be going on the bottom upside down to make what printers call a work and tumble, a work and turn. Work and turn allows you to make one document, one page, and print it twice. By flipping the paper over, you get the 2 tracks per page, and you cut it in half and fold it. So the next step is to enlarge what they call the desktop or the background. This background is about 5.5, 4.25 by 11, and we want it to be image size, image canvas size. So we actually want to have the width be 11. Type in 11 on your keyboard. And then we want the height to be 8.5. Then press OK. So now we've got the size big enough for the finished tract. The next step is going to be to use the marquee tool, second one down here. And we're going to move this image. First of all, we're going to draw our blue lines. If you click in the margin and you click and drag out of the margin, you can pull out what I call guidelines. So we're going to go to 5.5 for the center of the document. Then we're going to go down here the other way, 4.25 for the other center of the document on the height. Then we're going to draw out 1/4 inch margins. Printing press requires probably 5/16 to 3/8 margins, but laser printers require smaller non-print area, which is somewhere around 1/4 or less. Usually an 1/8 of an inch to 3/16 from our laser printer. So we're going to draw all these lines in here now, guidelines. These are our margins, no print areas, and help us center the information in the tract. So now we're going to go down to the middle. We want a margin on both sides. So this one is the middle of 4 inches here. And then we're going to go down to 4.5 with another one. Like that. And then we've got our columns. 4 columns for this 4-fold tract. So let's draw another line out here at half of 5.5, which is 2 3/4. Now let's draw another one out here at 5.5, 6.5, 7.5, 8.25. Now let's draw. Let's stop for a moment. I added the guidelines now, and now we want to take this image and move it up into its section in the top. This is the front side. So we use the second down over here, the marquee tool, and we select this whole area by clicking and dragging a dotted rectangle over the area. Get down here, then let go of the left click on the mouse, then press the move tool, the top one on the tools palette, then use your arrows on the keyboard. It shouldn't be making that blue background underneath there like that, but we can fix that. You can either hold the key down for a while and have it jump, or you can just move it a click at a time. So anyway, we want to have equal margins of the image above and below on this bar over here. So we figure that's about it right there. So now we're going to go select, deselect, and now we want to get rid of this bottom piece here that we made that's not supposed to be there. So I'm going to drag over that, and I'm going to press delete. And then this fill window opens up, and I have white here, and I press OK. And that gets rid of that. Now we're going to select, deselect, select up here, pull down menu to deselect, get rid of that. Now I made a folder on my computer on my external hard drive where all these tracks are going to go for the Free Tract Society. So now we need to find the backside. So down in the corner on Windows 7 operating system, which I'm using, we're going to click on the globe, the circle, and then go up here to computer. We may have to downsize Photoshop because I don't see it. Oh, it's appearing over here. Maybe you can't see this window. I have two monitors on my computer, so we go to My Cloud, External Storage Drive. Then we go down to Ministries. Ministries. Then we go to Free Tract Society. The lower letters are at the bottom, descending order. Then we go to Free Tract Scan Tracks. Then we go to this track we're making 5 points to New Life, and now we want the bottom. This says back. It was the back is the bottom. So we're going to open this in Photoshop. Open with, right click, go to open with, and we're going to open this in Photoshop CS5. There. Now this also has to be rotated. Only this one we want to be upside down for our work and turn. So we're going to go over here, we're going to go image, rotation, and 90 degrees counterclockwise, or clockwise, I'm sorry. And now we're going to, we want to put this into the other document on another layer. So up here we go select all, then we go edit copy. Then we're going to go to our other document up here, New Life Tract. That's the full completed tract. Here's the top tract here. Then we're going to, it's what I'd copied the other one you see here. This one, I copied this to the desktop, and then now here's the first side, the bigger document we're going to paste it into. It's copied to the desktop of the computer. And then we go edit paste. So that put that document in there upside down. It's on its own layer now. We need to move it down with the move tool up here and put it into position. We're going to center the bottommost, the topmost edge of the text, the word ever here, and the other text, the blue, we're going to center that between the blue lines, which is about like that. Now, you see that why we need to adjust things in Photoshop. We're going to zoom in now and I'll show you. This track looks pretty good from here, but when I zoom in I want to show you a few things. So we got the zoom, the magnifying glass tool over here, and we're going to zoom in now. And you see when you zoom way in, you've got all this fuzz that's a show-through, I believe, from the background, the back of the printed tract that we scanned both sides, and there was some, the scanner picked up some see-through. So we're going to begin to eliminate, and then you also see the lettering is a little bit, some places the ink's smeared a little, and if you draw a blue line down here and put it at the line of the underneath the text, you can see the text is not straight. So we want to straighten the text. We want to adjust out this background fuzz and try to sharpen or darken the letters. So first of all, let's try to get rid of the fuzz and adjust the letters. So the next step is to go to the image, pull down menu, adjustments, levels, and so now we're going to use this white slider over to get rid of the highlights, and we're going to watch at the top of the screen that fuzz go away as I slide this slider to the left. I'm in the wrong layer. So what we do in the layers palette over here, you see on the other screen I have my layers palette. We're in the layer 2 actually. Now we got to go back to the layer top part, which was the first thing I scanned. So we have to cancel that over there. We have to, now we're in the proper mode to working. We're working on the top part of the tract now. I could just combine the whole thing together. Eventually I guess I will. So now we've zoomed in, and now we're going to do an adjustment. So we go image, adjustments, levels, and then we take the white slider over here, move it toward the left, and you'll watch the fuzz begin to disappear. So I would say that's pretty good. Now that's still not good. That's not good quality midtones. So let's see if we can slide the midtone slider one way or the other. And it gets too light that way. We'll go this way, and we got to be careful, because if you go too far, it's going to make the letters fatter. So let's go right about there. Then let's take this far slider, which is the dark areas, and move it a little bit in, and now it's pretty much made that. Between that one and this one a little more, we've made it doesn't look really sharp, but when you print it you're not going to see that. So now we go okay with what we got. And so now let's try and twist the image. You can see it's not lined up with that blue line I pulled down, so we're going to go select all, and then we're going to go, this is assuming the whole document is twisted. Now we're going to go, so we select all. Now we go image, rotate, rotation, arbitrary, and we want to rotate it a little bit clockwise. So we need to go about maybe 0.05. So we're going to go put in 0.05 here and press the OK button, and you'll watch the text rotate down. It's working on it there. See, now it's not quite enough. So let's go image, rotation, arbitrary, and we could do maybe another 0.05. See what happens. Still not there. Arbitrary, we'll do one more time here. It's getting there now. So we could, if you hold down the control key on the keyboard and you put your cursor over the line, you can pull the line down. And you can see we're not quite there yet, so now we've got to go maybe one more. So image, rotation, arbitrary. Let's do a 0.05 clockwise. There. That's still not it. Anyway, one more. Image, rotation, arbitrary 0.05 again. Now it's for all intents and purposes it's fine. So let me show you another thing you can do. We're going to zoom out. View, zoom out. You might find that in the early days people pasted up these texts as sections on a pasteboard that they made the negative from. So if you want to just take a section of text, like you can see a problem here. This bottom is straight now, but in the black, but the top from the eyes from eyeing it is not straight. So that solves some of the problem, but not all the problem, because somebody evidently didn't paste this thing up straight. So now we're going to deal with just this blue area up here, which click and drag and draw a marquee around it. So this one has to go the opposite way. So now we go image rotation arbitrary, and we're going to go CCW counterclockwise, and we're going to go our 0.05 and click that and see how that does. So that let's do it one more time. It helped it. Also, when you go select all like this, or when you go have it selected, you can, just as an experiment, first of all, let's do our counterclockwise one more time. Image rotation arbitrary, counterclockwise 0.05. So we're going to assume that's good enough. But another thought I wanted to show you. You see my two blue lines on each side here. This blue line and this other blue line here. These were the area in which the columns of text are to be centered. Zoom out. Let's zoom out so we can see this whole column. You can see this blue line over on the left here, this blue line on the right are the lines where I wanted the text to be centered in for when you fold the tract. The fold lines are these lines, blue lines in between. This one's a little off here. So let's correct that. Press down the control key, move this over to the 3/4 mark. If you don't zoom in when you put to see the ruler better, when you do these things, then things don't get centered right the way they should. I'm correcting it and making it what it should be now. I got these guidelines centered now by holding the control key down on the keyboard and then keeping it held down while I pressed the while I went over the blue line, clicked and dragged it to where it should have been, according to the ruler at the top and the sides. Now, so what I'd like to show you now, we're going to need to, I'm in the marquee tool, we're going to select this whole, first go to the marquee tool and select this whole column of text. You can see it's not centered in these two marks exactly. So we've got it all selected with the marquee, and now we're going to use this top in the tools palette, the move tool, and we're going to use the arrow keys on the keyboard. I'm using the right arrow key now, and we're putting this approximately into the middle. So that top one isn't centered. So let's move this one. This could take a lot of time. There we go. We got that centered, the black. Now let's deselect. Now let's draw another line in here to get these two lined up, since the blue isn't lined up now. Now let's use the marquee tool and draw around the blue selection tool. Now we're going to use the left arrow key. We've got to put it on the move tool up here. Click the left Okay, so there we're about we want this to be centered over the just like the over the black. Now they are in line, but we have a little problem here with the overlap of the blue, so we're going to go select, deselect. Then we're going to carefully draw another marquee around this blue over here without touching the G. And then we're going to press delete key on the keyboard, and then it shows white. We press OK. That gets rid of that. Then we're going to get rid of this one over here too. Delete, white comes up, OK. That gets rid of that. Select, you can click outside the marquee and get rid of the selected area. Now we're going to show you how to get rid of some of these other problems. Like you see up here, this mess, whatever it was, spatter or ink spatter, I don't know. So we want to get rid of this mess up here. You can do it one of two ways. One, you can go over into the tools palette here and pick the eraser tool and click on eraser tool, and then you can use up here under edit, you can use your slider to determine the size of the tool. And then as you notice, and then your flipper down here, you want to have it so I believe the white is in the bottom corner. At the bottom of the tools palette you've got a black and a white. Let's see if this is the right one. Yes, you need to have the white under the black, and then you can get rid of something that way. Or there's another way you can do it if you got a lot of that. You just do your marquee tool like I showed you earlier, and you just click an area and then you press delete, and then you press OK when it says white, and then you press out of there, click out of there to get rid of that. Now let's take a look more closely at this text that I just did, and zoom in. Now when you zoom way in, you see we got some problems, and it would be ideally you'd want to probably retype this text, which you can do in Photoshop if you don't want to bother doing that, and especially if it's a foreign language with fonts you don't have on your computer. Now we're going to take the eraser tool again, and we're going to, I have it on the pencil setting, so it makes an absolute either white or black, depending on which one you switch. If you want to add parts to letters, you switch over here to have the black, and switch this arrow key, double arrow key, and it puts the black underneath there, and then you'll be able to draw a line like in black like that. If you don't like what you did, go edit, undo, or undo eraser. Okay, now we're going to switch back around with the white on the bottom, and see I got my tool a little too big, so we go up here under edit and use this slider, make it a little smaller, and then we come over here and we just start things like this, start looking around for pieces of things we don't want, depending on how detailed you want to be. The neat thing is that when you hear something hanging out on the Y, click that off. So that's how you hear something on the H and something over here. So we see how you can move the text within the quadrants by using the marquee tool and the move tool. And so carefully you go through the document and you get the whole thing done here. Then when you're done, you would want to go to the bottom half is on its own layer. So if you want to solve that problem, then you can go up here. I'm showing the layers palette. We're on the background. Layer 1 was the first thing we added. If you want to solve that problem, you go up under image over here and go merge layers, or layers, and go down to merge visible. There. Now it's all one. They're no longer two layers. The thing I imported is the same as the other. The top and the bottom are the same. So now you begin to do that. So eventually, you can lighten and darken the blue. You can clean up the letters. If you want another way to clean up the letters, let me show you that. Is to go filter. You go filter. First, let's zoom in, because in order to see the difference, you're going to have it bigger. Okay, there. Look at the E and the A here. Let's see what happens when we go filter sharpen down here to sharpen and then sharpen edges. Let's see what that does. There, see how it made it dark? We don't know if that's going to be better or worse, but that's a possibility too. Under filter, sharpen, edit. So when you're all finished with cleaning up all the graphics and cleaning up the type, getting rid of the little spots and getting the areas of text centered up and down and sideways in the columns, then you are pretty much ready to save the file. And you can see down here this is 96.6 megabytes, which is way too big a file size. So what you're going to want to do, you're going to want to go up here and you're going to want to go down to print, and you're going to want to select for the print. You're going to want to choose as a printer Adobe PDF at the bottom, and you want to make it a landscape. And when you go to print settings, you'll be able to see the different qualities levels here, and you'll want to any new text you'll want to uncheck the box rely on system fonts. And so I don't like standard quality, it's not as good. So I'm going to choose high quality print. When you do choose a high quality print and make your PDF, you'll find out when you open it in Acrobat DC or the Acrobat Professional if you have it, then you'll find the file size will drop down to 14 megabytes, which you can, for the whole document, which you can easily attach to an email to send to somebody or post on the internet, and it'll be a reasonable quality, high quality print in your Photoshop settings. Remember to, if you type new text in, rely on system fonts only, do not use document fonts. If you uncheck this box here, and if you check view the results, it'll open in your Acrobat so you can see how it looks. But when you uncheck this box here, rely on system fonts, it'll carry the fonts over that you used in Photoshop, if any, and carry them over to the person that opens the computer, the document on another computer. Before I make a PDF, you can see here I added some fresh text. Since a person normally would combine the text, put in his own text, fresh text, in a program Adobe makes called Adobe Indesign, which has finer details and adjustments than Photoshop. But if you don't have that and all you have is Photoshop, you can make a text box and put in your own text. So I'll show you how to do that now. These here have been merged, so they're not selectable separate from the others. So we're going to make a new text box. Now what I did, I copied this up here, and just to for experiment to see how nice it would look. So over here in the first, we're going to click on the text horizontal type text in the tool palette. Now we're going to go right about here like this and make ourselves a text box by clicking and dragging. Now you got your cursor already in there, and I found out that this type that somebody had used in making this tract was Times New Roman, and it was 9 point. So I selected Times New Roman from my list up here, and then I selected 9 point. The other thing that you're going to want to do possibly is under window up here, you're going to want to select character. Character gives you features that you would only find in InDesign. I'm going to drag it over here so you can see. Character allows you to do certain things like kerning of letters, and under paragraph, I didn't bring the paragraph over. I like using the paragraph one. The paragraph one right here allows you to choose whether you want justified type with equal margins on both sides or the various types there. And you can indent certain, you noticed over here on this 5 there's indented text. I tried to replicate the indented text by using this right here and putting in like a 12, 14 or a 16 in here, which put the lines of text over closer to make room for that 5, which is part of the graphics. And so now we're going to begin to type. I've got my paragraph and characters palettes open here where you can see, and I've got as the cursor shows it's ready to type. I got Times New Roman 9 point. So I don't know why it's got the indent, but because I had a 14 here, so let me put this back to 0. There. Now you'll probably see the cursor will be at the margin there. Now we're going to try to reproduce up here the Dear God. I'm typing in Times New Roman, put a space, God, and then go down, put the return key. Yeah, I pressed the return key twice evidently. So I am a sinner. Got to put a space in there. So as you can see, I don't know what's going on there. The spacing between the lines is too much, but you can adjust that under character there. So this right here, auto, space between the lines. So you can see we're going to get rid of that. Well, I'll leave that there so you can see. And then when you get done with your text box, you can adjust the width of the text box by dragging in these arrows here on either side and the top or the bottom. And you can choose whether you want the, I like to have the text all justified. So under paragraph, you click the justify button with all the lines except the last one, and that changes it over to equal margins both sides. And you can also, when you're done, because it's on its own layer, the text layer, each time you draw a text box, you can move it by with the move tool. You can click this and move your text around and put it in place that way. So you can actually do your combination of graphics and new text in Photoshop and not have to use InDesign. So now I'd like to show you another thing. I'm going to move these character palettes and the other palette back over to my other monitor. So we're going to do a couple more things now. So we would like to I'm just going to leave these these in here now. Well, I guess we could get rid of this here. We'll do the marquee tool. And we're going to get rid of this text I typed. Now we're going to press delete, and we're going to press OK. Now we're going to get rid of this over here too. Delete. We're on a different layer for that. That's the text layer. So I've got to figure out delete. Could not pixels cannot be edited with raster. Oh, I have to rasterize the image first. Okay, now I used to think that the quality of the text wouldn't be as good in Photoshop, but it seems to be as good when you print it out. So we're going to go, now we're going to combine the layers, merge flatten image or merge visible. Normally when you flatten image you can't undo it. So now let's see if we can delete this. There we go. So now we're ready to make our PDF. And so I'm going to show you how to, I'm going to suggest before we leave this area, if you want to put your custom address in, even if you are not normally adding text, you just draw your box here, and then you put in your church contact information, type it in there, and then save it, and then when you print the document, it'll have your custom church information, and you won't have to use a rubber stamp. So the next step is going to be to convert this into a PDF. So we go File and we go Print, and then we're going to choose Adobe PDF for our printer. We're going to go to Print Settings. We want Landscape, Print Settings. We're going to go to not standard but high quality print. We're going to uncheck rely on system fonts like I told you, and then we're going to go OK, and we want to view the results, so we leave that checked. So let's see what happens. So now we're going to go print, Uh, because it was a scanned image, what we see as white margins are actually Photoshop thinks they're part of the image, but it doesn't. They're white anyway, and if they don't print, it doesn't matter. So now it's converting it over to Adobe Acrobat, and it should allow us to view it when it's done. We're going to save it in the same. We're going to save it. I was going to save it in the same place I was saving it before. And now it's making the PDF. And it should open Acrobat now. What happens is you get a little window down here. No, that's not it. So it's making the PDF, and your PDF is ready to view now. So it's opening the PDF in Acrobat DC Reader. It sits up in the corner here. See if I can click on it and get it to open. I was hoping it would open in Photoshop. I want it to be 100%. Now the finished result is open, and you see this blue area here that I made. I'll show you how I did that in a moment. So you click on the blue area and it centers the type, and it allows you to, this is what I call making a field, a fillable text box that you can make with the full version of Acrobat, but you can type in additional information, different churches, with any version of Acrobat. So we see that like I'm gonna, let's say we want to put in New Life Christian Center, so we'd go, I already predetermined what size. It was 9-point type, New Life, and then you'd put it on the second line, because I don't think it's all going to fit. New Life Christian Center, and the nice thing about this is you can right click and you can go text style, and you can, like, I could choose, I could make this in bold if I want. So let's drag across that and then right click and go text style and go bold. There, now I've got my New Life. Click outside to deselect. So there, I've got my New Life Christian Center. So you'd be able to type in as much information as that whole blue area that I had, and use italics, bold, or regular. So let me show you how we made that blue text box that happened when I opened it. As far as I know, this is the version, the PDF version, and I want to show you how it dropped down from 96 megabytes down to a smaller file size. We go File, we go down to Properties over here, and you see this, the file size dropped down from 96 to 14.51 megabytes. Considerable drop in file size for passing around, putting on an internet. Let's zoom this thing in, and I'll show you with the zoom tool that you can see how the quality. We're going to try to zoom in a little more. So you can see that on some of this blue type, the E's, top of the E's are like this one here, where the hand is plugged up. So that's why a person may consider retyping some of the type. The black turned out not to be as bad. Even some of the letters are joining together there. You could probably, if you want to take enough time, you could, in this A up here, that it's touching right there, it shouldn't be touching. So if you want to do better than that, you're going to have to, the quality is about the same as the Photoshop document I had. It looks the same to me. So now let's zoom out again, down to 100% or 75%. And now I'm going to show you how, with this full version of Acrobat, you're going to be able to put this this imaginary text box in here that people with a non-full version of Acrobat Professional can actually type in. So we're going to go over here to Forms, Add or Edit Fields. Currently there are no forms in this PDF. So now we're going to go up here where it says we're going to go OK. Now it put something down here we don't want, and I think there's a field down there. So now we're going to go up here on the left to add new field, text field. Now we're going to put our register thing here. We want to go no higher than the margin, than the top, keep the top margin the same. We're going to want to move this in to approximately, because we don't want our text to exceed, we'll go in right about here, right about there, and then we'll drag across, holding the left mouse down, and we'll go over here to a little past the Free Tract Society contact thing and move down to about there, and then release it. And now we can call it something. We're going to call it Church Contact Information. And then we go show all properties. And we go for appearance here. We go options. Not letting me do that. So we're going to go I right-clicked on this imaginary text box to add text, and I went to properties, and it brought up my text field properties window. So you see my name typed in there, where people get the idea they can type their church name or whatever contact information before they print one out of these tracts. Then we're going to go to appearance. I chose, because it's a small type tract and I want to get able to get information on each line, I chose 9-point for the font size, and I chose Helvetic, and I chose black. And then under options, you don't want a border color and you don't want a fill color. Options, we want the alignment to be centered. We want multi-line, so you can add more than one line. You want to allow rich text formatting, which means you can add the italic and the bold as well as the regular, and you can leave the check spelling typed on. And what the actions mean when the person moves their mouse cursor over this imaginary text box, I'm going to put mouse enter, and then format. Nothing needs to be done there. So then we go close, and now you can resave your document, and you will have your document ready to print yourself after you type in your information. This, what you see here, this text box thing, it doesn't. It looks that you can see that it's there, and you can work with it, but you can't. You'll be able to work with it, but you won't. It won't print out the box and that title in the box. Lastly, I want to remind you, most people might not know this, but you need to print out a copy, and you need to fold the tract in quarters, and you could cut it in half first and then fold it, and fold it the other way, and then print the back side. If the back side doesn't line up with the front side because of the problems of your laser printer, then you may have to make a copy document and adjust it accordingly so that it fits, looks good. So this shows this particular one. It came out with pretty good centering up and down, and from side to side for each column. Lastly, we could use some help. Free Tract Society, that's converting their tracts to digital, has 24 English and 24 or so Spanish most used or most liked tracks. And we're going to work on those first, but we could sure use some help. If you have Photoshop, if you have InDesign, if you've seen this and you think you might be able to help out, then I ask that you contact me, David Hupp, His Print Media Ministries, 805-452-5150, and we can get you started with learning how to do all this and get these things. And then you can send it to me as a PDF or a Photoshop document, and I can verify that it looks good. So I'm going to pray a prayer now. Father God, I bring this people that watch this video that would like to help, that you'll put it on their hearts to help, that you'll anoint them as you anointed the two men that made the tabernacle and crafted it in the wilderness in the Old Testament of the Bible, Bezalel and Aholiab. You gave them all manner of skill and crafting ability for different arts, Lord. So anoint these people, put it on their heart to help. You said through your servant Terry Mize, there's nothing God won't do for you if you'll but help spread the gospel. Put it on these people's hearts to help. Give them the ability to help. And thank you that the job of reaching the world before, as required before Jesus returns, will manifest it through our help. Thank you, Lord, for hearing and answering this prayer as you promised you would. In Jesus' name,